I want to share why I believe families should homeschool. And it's not why you think. Hi, I'm Nancy Marie Peterson. I've been homeschooling for over 20 years. I have 6 kids. I have 5 that have graduated, and I have 1 left who's in high school. And I want to share some thoughts that I want you to think about when it comes to the realm of homeschooling high school. Now, a lot of people homeschool the early years and they get intimidated when the high school year comes. And I don't want that for you. And I want to share why I think it is so important to keep homeschooling through those high school years. Now, when my oldest began high school, I felt very intimidated. I never thought I would homeschool high school. I thought I'll do the younger grades, and then when they get to high school, I'll put them back in school. I never thought we'd walk this road. And I have a degree, I have a master's degree in education, and I still felt intimidated. But I want to share on the other end of this experience. I have 5 that have graduated, and what it feels like to walk through those years with my children. I wouldn't trade it for anything. It is so amazing, beautiful, beneficial, hard, intense, challenging. All those are all true adjectives. But it is life-changing for both of you in such a good way. I love the opportunity to speak truth into my kids. Now, a lot of people homeschool high school for academic reasons, and that's a great reason, and that's why we started the whole process of homeschooling. But when it came to high school, it actually, by then I was already thinking in a different direction. And so I love the fact that socially, when high school came around and there were these petty arguments and these girly fights or whatever was going on, that my kids weren't engaged in that. And my youngest daughter is in college, and some of her friends kind of give her a little bit of a hard time. Well, you're not like a normal homeschooler, you know. And but then on the other realm, they'll say, well, you were homeschooled and you were sheltered. The truth is, most of her kind of growing up years, formative years, she lived in Mexico. We literally lived, I won't even go into, but we saw a lot of stuff. And so she wasn't sheltered. She was sheltered from some of that yucky social thing that's only in that box when you're in high school. Because when you get out of high school, you're not stuck in that box anymore. You don't have to walk in the lunchroom and try to figure out, who's going to be nice to you, who's talking to you today. That's not the real world. You don't sit in a classroom or a cubicle with people your exact same age and your same frame of life. You get a plethora of, when you enter the real world, you get to interact with people that are older and younger and the same age and genders and all different beautiful things meshed together. And so the social part, to have them not have to deal with some of that stuff when they're still trying to find their identity. A couple of my girls have struggled with acne, and it was pretty intense and heavy. And we walked in finally to the dermatologist, and she was going on and on with my daughter of how, oh, you must feel so insecure, and this must be really hard on you. And, the depression talk came up, and my daughter was like, yeah, no, I'm not really that. I just like, it hurts and I'd like it fixed, but I'm not depressed about it. Yeah, it's a bummer. She wasn't hung up because she wasn't in that social realm that taught her who her identity was. She knew who her identity was in Christ, and she didn't have that pressure on the outside world. And it was beautiful. And I don't think the doctor could understand it. She was like, what? And so not only academically, and that's what everybody thinks of, but it's also the social. And I think so often we miss the spiritual part, the spiritual opportunity that you have when you homeschool your kids through those 4 years of high school to pour truth every day into their life. It is so much harder when you put them on a bus or they drive to the school and you don't get to have that time with them. When you're home, when they're in your home, you get so many opportunities to speak truth, to speak life, to speak God, to help them realize this world that they're going into can be harsh, can be challenging, but God is also faithful and God can be trusted. So let's we talked about academic, which we'll circle back to academic, talk about the social realm. And I get so tired of people saying about, well, should you homeschool because of social? That is so debunked. Kids are going to be socially awkward if that's what their makeup is and that's what their family is kind of around. And you can pick out certain kids, yes, homeschool, but so often now in the mainstream, you cannot pick out a homeschool kid. So that social stigma that used to be it's not even a thing anymore. The other part that we talked about, kind of the spiritual, getting to pour truth into your kids every single day and walk them through and require readings that will help grow their faith and walk them out. The other part of getting to homeschool high school is you get to look at their gifting and talents and champion it. That means an apprentice. They can work jobs that they normally wouldn't maybe be able to do on top of their workload. My kids were able to run coffee shops on our local missions organization in high school. My daughter memorized whole books of the Bible and competed, ran a coffee shop, did college classes in high school, because it was done in our home and it was done in an environment that was a growing environment that helped her be successful. And so I think the opportunities for a future, to grow your future, is so much easier when they're homeschooled. Now, I know I got kind of wrapped in that mentality when my oldest daughter, we have friends who are principals, and well, a friend who's a principal, and they're in a school, and there was this STEM program and all the cool things she was telling me, all the cool things that were involved in that. And I just kind of was like, oh, my daughter's not going to get that. Oh, I failed her, and oh, this isn't going to work out. And the truth is, she is a family nurse practitioner now. It didn't hurt her at all to be homeschooled and miss out on some of that cool STEM things. She learned what she needed to do. God's grace covered her because she is spiritually grounded. She not only works as a family nurse practitioner, she helps all the families on our campus with their kids. She runs the youth group on our campus. Like, she is exceeding the expectations. And so all that didn't hurt her. Actually, homeschool helped her really mold her into what God wanted her to be. So when you think of homeschooling, and if you're asking, should I homeschool high school? My answer is yes. If you love your kids and you can be intentional with their learning and with their growth, and you know it's a calling that God has placed on you, absolutely, you need to engage in it because of the benefits that come with it. And I want to say, I'm going to wrap it back up with the academic pieces. My kids have excelled. They've gotten 4.0s or like 3.9s and 3.7s, like at the very end. GPAs have been in the honors programs. They have excelled in the academic realm. And so it wasn't a negative thing that they were homeschooled. It actually became a positive. They were more solid in who they were when they walked into the world. And yes, there were things we missed. There was maybe because we lived in an RV for 10 years, they didn't get the cooking experience that my youngest son is now getting because we have a house now. But I want to say, all the different parts, you're going to give up something. Everything gives up something. And I remember sitting talking to a homeschool young woman years ago, and I asked her, what do you think about homeschooling? Do you feel like you missed out on stuff? Because my kids were still pretty young at the time. And she looked at me with such honesty, and she said, no, I just had different experiences. They weren't better. They weren't worse. They were just different. And my kids, their different experience has been beautiful and amazing and God ordained. And I love that. And I want that for you. So if you're wondering, can I homeschool? Can I actually get them academically where they need to be? Is yes. And I have friends who didn't even get a college degree or a high school degree, and they were still able to have kids that rose up into excellence. So don't let anything hold you back. If God has placed it on your heart and you feel a calling and you feel like you want to walk it out, please do. If you need help, I would love to help you. I have some resources in the description to help you get started. Leave a comment and I can interact with you. I'm not perfect. I don't have it all together. I don't even have all the answers sometimes. And even though I've homeschooled 6 kids and I've graduated 5 of them, I'm still learning and growing along with everyone else that's in this journey. We're not perfect. And I want to say I have a resource for you. It's called Intentional Mom, Unshakable Faith. It's a book that I wrote to help you guide your kids towards a vibrant, real faith in God. And it's just different strategies that we used in our household to build my kids' faith so they can walk out these amazing lives that they have and the callings that God has on their life. I have a daughter who works on the mission field. I have another, my son's a missionary. My daughter was a teacher and she worked in the youth group and she's had babies now and her husband works in the youth group. I've got a daughter who's an accountant, works in the youth group. We're kind of youth-minded and service-minded and works in the church cafe shops. They just have a service mindset because that's what we set up. And so if you want kids who love God and don't just want to have a faith that just kind of holds on a surface level, but you want a deep, vibrant, active faith, and you want a faith that's unshakable, one that's going to really step into the calling, then check out that book because it has just a plethora of wisdom that I gathered, not just for myself, things that I've read, families that I've watched, and I put it into this book so you can walk out this calling that God has in your life. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Hopefully I've answered the questions. Should you homeschool high school? Hopefully you feel more confident in your decision and the calling that God has laid on your life. As always, stay intentional, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.